I've wanted to do this for a long time, but never got around to it until now. Reason being is I thought it wouldn't perform well enough. The goal was to reach as much weapon damage one can get on a build as possible while maintaining skill damage. And you're probably thinking, well, that's easy. Just slap the capacitor on and you're good to go. But nah, I'm not even using the capacitor. And I have between 5 to 6 skill tiers depending on which specialization I want to use. Man, this build is insane and I had to present this to you right away. There's some advice I would like to get from you in the comments specifically regarding a few pieces I should or shouldn't swap out. Okay, check this out. And now that the Picard's holster is back to where it's supposed to be, it has so much diversity with it. I'll show you right here just how much. Okay, 5 skill tiers, right? But if I have Technician, it'll be 6 along with Dismantling on Technician's Specializations tree, which allows you to deal more damage to Chungas and mechanical dogs. Now you can opt for that or use Survivalist Specialization, which offers the armor piercing tips from the crossbow. And this is what I wanted your feedback on, but let's come back to it after I describe what's going on here because then it'll make more sense. So here's what I wanted to accomplish overall. And like I said, it wasn't materialized until now because I didn't think it would work. Everything rode to skill tier. The 2-piece Brazos with Picard's holster and a free skill tier there helps a ton. I have the Hollow Man that naturally comes rolled as armor. Plus, you'll need a second piece of yaw for the weapon damage. This means it's hard to get to 6 skill tiers, but remember, when you make a build that's hard to put together, it's usually amazing. Case in point, this build. What I'm doing here is designing a skill build that is dedicated to dealing large amounts of damage with whatever skill you equip by having skill damage rolled everywhere. I'm not using the capacitor because I wanted to rediscover 𝐸, bring it back out of the shadows. And with the test subject, its damage is more than satisfactory. Plus, with the weapon damage and using combined arms, seems unfair with both I and my skills shooting the enemy. And even if I wanted to use the capacitor, I couldn't because I'm using Ravenous. That's why I'm stacking weapon damage everywhere. This not only helps Ravenous, but it benefits the test subject's damage also. This build has 25% raw weapon damage on it. The 2-piece yaw, the 1 walker, and finally Picard's holster. This is weapon damage baked into the build without even being required to roll any type of crit or headshot damage. It's already built into the damage based on the pieces you have equipped. Major synergy right here, fam. And don't forget about the Fox's pair of knee pads, which helps Ravenous and damage to targets out of cover in general, increasing your damage output. But here's where I want to refer back to the beginning where I said I'd like you to help me in the comments. Remember I said depending on what specialization you have will depict the amount of skill tiers. Well, that's because Technician gives another skill tier and a Dismantling perk on his skill tree. On the flip side, you got to decide if you want to sacrifice the 1 skill tier by switching to Survivalist, and what you'll gain is that explosive crossbow that comes with the specialization. And here's the part of this that solidified this build to me as being something fierce. The Ravenous. You already know how much I co-sign for this weapon. The destroyer of Chungas and mechanical dogs. And this is why the Ravenous is perfect for this. I know I say that a lot, that oh, this weapon is perfect for that, or this gear is perfect for this, but in this case it holds more weight. And I want to say something in regards to the Ravenous. For one, it's hard to attain because you have to complete the Iron Horse raid and get lucky. Number 2, it's hard to use while in battle. With the fact of the Division 2 being a cover-based shooter, that in correlation with needing to switch shoulders can be a pain while sometimes in cover. But in this playstyle, Ravenous is not the front runner. It's a secondary. The test subject with Perfectly in Sync is what you'll be using most of the time. The damage that deals with a multiplicative health damage from Hollow Man and 25% weapon damage on the build in general, how can you not main this? But the Ravenous in this build is merely a tool to use only when you encounter Chungas and mechanical dogs, so you can dispose of them quickly, especially if you're in a team and they're not even paying attention to you. Oh boy, the damage you will deal. And if you have that crossbow from Survivalist Specialization, the armor piercing explosive tips are devastating as well. And how you get the explosive tips to drop, you'll need enemies to die while afflicted with a status effect. It's why for the skills, I use a bleed hive so that you'll most likely score a kill while they're under that effect, almost guaranteeing that they'll drop. Next, I use an assault turret, essential for combined arms when using the test subject. Oh my god, I'm in love with this build and I'm so glad it's finally conceived. Tell me what you think of it in the comments, also what you would choose, Technician or Survivalist. Oh, and one more thing. If you decide to use Survivalist, in order to get that 6th skill tier, you can get rid of the Fox's Prayer knee pads and use Memento for another skill tier, and just equip some Yaw gear knee pads instead of the Fox's Prayer. that are rolled to skill tier. This is how you'll be able to maintain that 6 tiers because of the extra tier the memento gives you. And that's it. That's the build. A very multifaceted one, and I really want you to chime in below to let me know what you think of it. I'll be looking forward to reading your comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Be right out. I see a lot of videos on YouTube talking about game development. So many of them express how difficult making games is, or how much it makes them feel like they want to quit. Personally, I've never felt like I wanted to give up, but I can definitely relate to the struggles surrounding how hard the journey can get. But for this video, I want to explore the other side of this world and go back to when the thought of making a game felt like an adventure. Oftentimes when really investing in your project after